Hi everybody, Dean Hill, Executive Director of Eze Castle Integration. We are an outsourced technology partner to the alternative investment sector. I've been in the market for around about 25 years now, operating with 800 clients globally and employing around about 800 members of staff across the world. Joining me today is our Director of Technology, Jamie Smith, who will introduce himself now.
Hey everybody, so Jamie Smith, I'm the Director of Technology here at Eze Castle Integration. Been here for about 2 years. I help clients with their strategic direction, helping ECI to identify products and services that fit our market, and just really making sure that we're giving back a little bit and developing our services in line with where our companies and clients want to go. It's been an exciting year, really looking forward to 2021, and today we're going to talk you through a few of the services and products that we're seeing in the market and how we want to implement them this year. Hopefully a better year than last.
Yeah, indeed. So just kicking off from there, Jamie, I mean, before we go into, I guess, developments for 2021, let's kind of take a quick 5 minutes on a recap of 2020 and talk about some of the challenges that we saw, back end of March. Everybody knows that we kind of went into initial lockdown, pandemic. What challenges can we reflect on from that point in time? How did we overcome them with our clients? And I guess, are any of those pertinent to what we're taking into 2021 with a vision for us adopting new technologies and adopting new services? And I think I'll start with the logistical challenges of mobilizing the workforce, right? And
Yeah.
What that meant for clients in terms of pushing everybody outside of the office and keeping them secure. So maybe we can start there.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the challenges from 2020 was the unknown. How long is this going to last for? How long will we be working at home? Is this a temporary fix? Are we going to go back to kind of normal working? Whereas I think now companies are very comfortable with the way that people work. In our industry, I think there's a lot of emphasis on communication. And that was the biggest thing. I think the stumble to kind of get home and get everybody working effectively. Everyone had BCP tests and kind of tested how they work and operate in different circumstances, but never for this length of time. Like BCP plans were always kind of for, a period of a set period, a defined period. Whereas now it's just we've kind of set off on this road and we're carrying on going down it. Luckily, I think the way technology it was very easy to adapt. I think what we've seen in 2021 so far is people really having the benefit of planning now, because they can go through what they want to do in 21 and start setting out the course, because no one's in a rush to go back to the office. No one's in a rush to return to the way things were before. And that's probably accelerated the whole digital transformation and digital services that, I guess people were aware of and heard about, but never really had a serious kind of incentive to go and do these kind of things. It was always when the budget came up or when the cycle came up. So I think now we're planning 21. It's the way that we want to kind of change the business to carry on down this road. And it's fantastic because I think a lot of the services and a lot of the systems that are out there are definitely aligned to this way of working. And other industries outside of finance have been doing it for a long time. But people always talk about Google and Facebook and how they operate and millennials. Well, that's no different to the way that other companies can operate and do operate now. All of the buzzwords that we had within infrastructure around things like DevOps and app services, these are things that you have to have now. You can't exist without having a kind of DevOps mindset or really thinking about how you're going to deliver your applications in the new architecture we have now with SaaS platforms and with cloud platforms. So I think what we saw in 2020 was an acceleration towards that kind of technology where people that were mid-cycle in the technology stack they've probably chosen a few years before have to now move in between that cycle to the new capabilities that are there. So it's accelerated, I think, Dean, is the main point. I think 2021 is going to see that carry on with the benefit of renewed budgets and maybe new energy to do it. Then from the client side, are we seeing people engaging us again for 2021? I know we had a quieter kind of middle of the year last year, but I'm sure towards the end we got a lot busier and people started to look to playing out their 21. Are we seeing that in Q1? Are people coming back and wanting to re-engage and start to talk about these things with us again?
I think so, and I think, I mean, to say that we had a quieter, sort of a quieter middle of the year last year, I think what we saw happen was that, you know, the wheels didn't stop turning; they just turned a little bit slower, right? So we were still working through the process of client onboarding and client engagement, still talking to clients about about major projects that they needed to kind of undertake and execute on. And the problem that we were faced with is that it took a lot longer to get those projects through the typical cycle, right? So you think about a design cycle, you think about a consultation cycle that we work through, and a lot of what we do, during that process is face to face. As people came up to speed with remote working, as they came up to speed with kind of getting on Zoom meetings or Teams meetings,
Yeah.
and using the technology, the collaboration technology that's at our fingertips and that we take for granted now. March, April, May last year in 2020, people were still getting used to the concept of how does this technology work. And I think the problem that we were faced with is that what would typically take 3 months was taking 6 months to get through the cycle. So yes, it slowed down. It didn't stop completely. So we kind of look at the final quarter of 2020 was very, very busy for us globally. And I think from a project perspective and from a project booking perspective, it was one of our busiest quarters in history. And if I look at sort of where that leads us into 2021, we've kicked off 2021 with some major projects across the globe actually. Major clients, some major new clients coming on board, across the US, across Europe, and also across Asia. Where these kind of projects have been delayed slightly, but now they're really kind of ready to push along. The other thing that's kind of that's driving client engagement is that as you rightly mentioned, people are not in a rush to get back to this kind of this office working environment. So they're happy with the concept of working at home. They're happy with the concept of kind of having a mobilized workforce, but they do have not concerns. They do have kind of challenges and worries about how to keep the environment secure. We've seen it up in cybercrime. We've seen an up in sort of scamming and phishing, both on a personal level and and a company corporate level. And I think the challenge now for firms is, okay, so we've got this mobilized workforce, we've got individual environments. How do we ensure that we stay ahead of security, and how do we ensure that we stay ahead of potential attacks that are going to come in on individuals that are working outside of the office environment? And so that in itself has translated into a lot of work that we're doing on the consultancy side and from a project perspective around security. And I think that kind of brings us in nicely to sort of I guess two things that happened last year for ECI. I mean, 2020 was a milestone year for us. We achieved 2 major acquisitions during lockdown, during a pandemic. We started 2021 with both those acquisitions locked and loaded within our corporate structure, fully integrated, fully migrated from a staff and service perspective. But the eye for us, and I'll turn this over to you in just a second, Jamie, but the eye for us was, how do we add additional value to our clients in 2021 by adding in different technologies, different services, and sort of different products within the portfolio? And I think for us, that's what we've effectively achieved in 2020. So, Jamie, I'll hand it kind of back on this, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the AlphaServe acquisition, the Northout acquisition, digital transformation and security, the SEAM service.
Yeah, sure.
And how that really is kind of transforming the way that we engage with our clients for this year.
Yeah, sure. I think the first one is that, for 25 years now, Eze Castle have been experts in infrastructure and service. I think we saw the market really accelerate towards digital transformation, like I said, last year and into this year. And we had 2 choices. We could go out and we could hire people into Eze Castle to start that practice, start that pillar. I mean, there's crossover between infrastructure and DevOps, for example, because now as we move into virtualized technologies, it's always about automation within the infrastructure. Now we're seeing automation across the board and in business practices as well. So looking at how businesses operate and looking at automating a lot of the interactions between different systems. We were using automation to build the systems. Now we're just kind of broaching into using that tool set to do more with the business. So looking at more how IT helps the core of the business and not just the context around email and communications, but really how we can use IT and drive forward the business to succeed. And I think that was always a job of, the CIO, CTO historically. A lot of firms that we look after either have CTOs and CIOs, but they're focused very much on the kind of trading technologies, or they outsource because they don't have the scale of operation where they need that real kind of deep intrinsic planning. But they might use us to help them with that and to help set direction with what we know in the market and with what we see with other clients. Eze Castle chose to go out and effectively buy that business and bring that business in. It was something that Eze Castle have done for the last few years, as in looking around. So I think the acquisitions that we've recently done, they weren't, 2020 acquisitions, they were started long before that and just accelerated into 2020 because it was the right time. So, North Out, Alpha Serve, the conversations have been had for a long time. It's not like a knee-jerk reaction. It's the way the market's going. I think with Eze Castle, they had the resources to go out and bring in people that were aligned. And, Monesh and Nate from North Out are great assets for me personally, because we talk all the time about what we're doing with our clients. I know our clients very well in the infrastructure, having worked in hedge for a long time, working with them to discuss what our clients need and hearing the passion and enthusiasm because they've done it before. For finance, but also for other markets which are aligned with ours. So it's great to have education experience around how they've done it for other companies that we can bring in to the ECI clients now and deliver that service. I'm sure we'll do a lot of talking with Nate and Manesh on that side too, in other conversations and other kind of webinars. And then, yeah.
I think that the key change. I think the key change for us in terms of the way that we're approaching things is that we're not. Look, I've said it before. I think the landscape for technology has been, from an MSP perspective, the landscape for technology has been flattened, by the Microsofts, the Azures, the Office 365s, the AWSs of the world, right? And it's now kind of how do MSPs add value, as a trusted technology partner. And I think that really is, the objective for us for 2021, or even before, is to be having not just technology conversations, but to be having business conversations, understanding, the direction of a particular business and how we can help with technology to enable our clients to get there. So I think the level of conversations we're having with clients now really are around business objectives as opposed to kind of individual points around technology. Would you agree?
Yeah, Dane, so that's a great point, because I guess we're seeing now a lot of a kind of an amalgamation of the two sides of technology. One that was the kind of the trading applications and the more front office systems that were really kind of the job of maybe the traders or the developers to really kind of work. And that was separated a lot from the infrastructure. I think now with the emergence of SaaS providers and public cloud technologies, that's kind of really flattened out, and we're using the same kind of techniques in both sides. So from a security perspective, making sure that any SaaS applications that people use have the same identity management, that the same security practices are on both sides of the fence, that we're taking logs in from all the different systems and looking at them holistically. And that's a big part of what digital transformation is. It's really kind of flattening down and making sure that all of these things are taken into consideration. And if I think about 21 and the kind of things that we're doing with our clients and what we've done, a huge part of kind of Q1 for us is in Kubernetes. So we've got a few engagements now with clients that are running their own application stacks, because they have their own developers that are very much linked directly to the trading operations, and they're using Kubernetes as a way to scale out the models they have and the way that they do it. But they don't have the skills to monitor these environments to make them robust, and that's where we come into it. With our offshore development team, or our development teams in general, we have a lot of skills now in a lot of places where we can take that and almost make it as a service. So they can take from us a managed Kubernetes environment where we can spin it up and monitor and maintain it for them. They're still free to add their own applications in there and to use it as they want, but we provide the platform for them. We can also help with the application development if that's something which, you know, they don't have skill for in-house. But I think now we're starting to see the conversations develop around the management part of the, you know, we don't want to take the core business away from them, because that's their intellectual property at times. That's where they kind of have a competitive advantage, and they don't want to give people keys to the castle. But there's a lot of things around that we can help and support as part of the service we do in general. Even things like data warehouses, we're seeing a lot of data warehousing because it's so easy to do now, so easy to use, and you can go out and buy data from marketplaces, put them into your Snowflake, put them into your Azure data warehouse. But that's another technology stack that people have to monitor and maintain and secure. You know, the other half of the public cloud availability is the shared responsibility you have to make sure that all of the buttons and all of the places that you can configure within a public cloud environment are secured and are, you know, taken care of, and they are administered in the right way. We do that for our clients now. So I think really on the digital transformation side, we've got the expertise in service, and it's just translating that now to make sure that we are helping them to secure and develop these applications and these kind of models in the right way for what's going to happen in 21 and beyond.
Brilliant, thanks, Jamie. Unfortunately, that is all we've got time for today. I'd love to stay on and talk a little bit more about, you know, some of the strategic partnerships that we've, you know, that we're developing or have developed through, you know, the last quarter of 2020 and sort of going into 2021, and talk a little bit more about the, you know, the product and technology roadmap. Thanks for joining us. Thank you to Jamie. If anybody does have any further questions, feel free to reach out to either one of myself or Jamie. Thank you.
Thank you.